Okay guys, what I have here, my name's Mr. Kane. I teach at collision repair at Lincoln Tech in Indianapolis. We follow the ICAR curriculum. So what we're going to do here is a little exercise that is about panel bonding. Okay, that's what we're in right now in one of my classes. So this is just some sheet metal that I prepared off a fender. Ground the insides that meet together need to be completely ground and nice and flat, and so it's a good tight fit up. This is what we're going to be using to bond it. It's a panel bonded adhesive from 3M 8115. If you look on the sides, most of them will tell you work time is 90 minutes. Okay, 90 minutes. Clamp time 4 hours, and the full cure time is 24. So you got plenty of time with this one. It does have glass beads in there. Now glass beads do one thing. If you didn't have anything to keep it from smishing it really tight, you'd squish all the glue and adhesive out, so the glass beads give it a little bit of a gap to keep the adhesive in. So what we're going to do, we have all of our vice grips here. We're going to load this in the gun. It takes a special gun. One side is bigger than the other. You can obviously see on the plungers. So we're going to put it in there. Now, what you want to do first is you're going to want to take the plug that comes in and out. You want to purge it a little bit to make sure both sides are coming out of the end. Okay? Now where they're both coming out. Now we're going to put our new tip on, which these tips mix it like a kabillion times before it comes out the end, they say. Alright. So now what we want to do, we want to at least run a ribbon out the length of this right here, so we make sure it's mixing good. So you want to squeeze it, then run a bead down at least like the length of the tip. Okay, that ought to be good enough. Now what you want to do with this stuff, and it can be kind of messy, is you want to put some stuff on here on both the bead down both sides or both pieces. Okay, we want to put enough on. Okay, what we're going to be doing here in a second is we are going to spread this out. Now it has a rust inhibitor built in, so that's why we're using the bare metal to help it grab hold and make sure it has good adhesion. I've just cut a normal little spreader into a piece, and all I'm doing is a real thin coat like a primer. Okay, you just want to do a nice thin coat like I said, and you use this as a primer, so that way there's no kind of etch primer, no kind of weld through primer, nothing. It needs to be on there, but this needs to be wet on it, so you are using this as a primer. Thin coat of it, scrape on it. I almost have too much on here because we really don't need a whole lot, just to make so it doesn't rust in between. Okay, so using this as the primer. We'll set that one there, and we'll start on this one. You do both sides that way, or both pieces, whether it's on the car or whether it's not. You're putting the panel on, but you want to make sure you got it kind of wet, covered. I like wetting it, or just make sure it's covered. The glue is covering all the bare metal, and that is your rust protection now. Okay, so that keeps all that from rusting when the moisture gets down in it after you're all completely done. So now what we have here is you take this when they're both like this, and now you'll want to run a bead right down the middle. Okay, just like this, just one bead. on one piece, one side, whether it's the car, the piece you're putting on, handle, anything. Now we're going to put them together like this, and now we're going to start clamping. First things first is they recommend if this piece had 5 spot welds on it from the factory, you want 5 clamps. You want to clamp for about every spot weld there is. Okay, that's why it takes so many vice grips. So that's your new favorite thing to ask grandma. When grandma asks you what you want for Christmas, tell her vice grips. You can never have enough of these, and people in the shop, you'll have to be borrowing other people's. So let's say there was originally a spot weld, an OEM spot weld on every spot here now. So now you want to clamp this on, and now it's just going to set. And in all reality, overnight, it should set. And then the next day you'll be able to take them off and we'll be able to see this. So I hope this has been informative for everybody. That's the way I was taught from iCar, and the way I was taught from the 3M company. Man, when they first come out with this structural bond, or this, not structural bonding, but vinyl bonding. And there is a really great place for this. And I love this stuff around the wheel well on a quarter and around the dog leg area. Use this because it seals it up and you don't have to weld. There's no hot spots, and it's a lot easier. The biggest thing with this stuff is, guys, is once you clamp it, put it down, if it's not something right, do not take it apart. If you have to take it off, you got to start all over again and clean it off, because it could trap air bubbles and impurities in there. So main thing is to make sure you test fit your parts and test fit, make sure all fits good and everything before you start applying the glue. But you do have time to move it around. Let's say a roof or a door skin, bedside on a truck if you need some part of it. But now they would recommend welding on the end of a quarter panel on the rear body panel. And we will get into that tomorrow once we do this. But this is the same type process. We use the same stuff if we were doing the weld bonding, like you remember in our welding class, where we weld bond right through the glue and a spot squeeze type resistance spot weld. Thank you.